Hello and welcome to this, the 10th of Ovid's Heroides. This is a letter from Ariadne to Theseus. Ariadne famously helps Theseus in his quest to make it through the labyrinth and kill the Minotaur. She gives him a thread, usually it's called a red thread, which helps him to find his way out again once he has killed the Minotaur, who is incidentally Ariadne's half-brother. He is sometimes called Asterion, as you'll find out if you read Borges' very beautiful short story, The House of Asterion. Ariadne elopes with Theseus. They run away from Crete, which is where the labyrinth is. They stay on the island of Naxos for a while, and then he sneaks off while she's asleep and abandons her there. And she is mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. She starts by saying, every kind of wild animal is kinder than you. But her list of crooks in her version of this story is quite long. She says, I was betrayed by sleep and by you. If only she hadn't been asleep. She describes how she woke up one morning. They've, I think, been there for a while because it's starting to get frosty. She says this is the first frost and the birds are starting to complain. I love that. I bet they are. She says she reaches out for Theseus and nullus erat. No one was there. She can't quite believe it because she's still half asleep. She reaches out again, nullus erat, the following line 12. No one was there. Fear drove sleep away. She says, I got up terrified. I beat my breast. I tore my hair, though that was a mess anyway, she says, because I'd been asleep. I never love Ariadne more than at this moment. I love the theme of having slightly rubbish hair that runs through the Heroides. You have to assume that Ovid knew women who were just like, oh, my hair looks terrible today, because it comes up over and over again. It just fills my heart with joy since I last brushed mine in, what month is this? Let's say January. She runs up and down the shore, trying to spot Theseus, trying to find where he's gone. She's crying out his name. She says, line 22, the hollow rocks gave your name back to me. She climbs up the highest point, the cliff that's on the shore. She can just make out Theseus's sails as he disappears into the distance. Line 32, she says, I was colder than ice and only half alive. I know. She cries out, where are you fleeing, Theseus, you ratbag? Scelerate is often translated as sort of scoundrel or wicked man. I would generally go for something a little bit more in the demotic, let's say, but perhaps not for these videos, which I know are being watched by actual children who I'm trying not to, well, I say I'm trying not to, but I am obviously trying to brainwash them into liking Ovid, so let's try and not brainwash them into liking swearing. She says, where are you going? Turn your ship around. You're missing one of your crew. Oh, Ariadne, I can't bear it. She waves frantically. She's worried that he can't hear her, but he might be able to see her, and that might be enough. And honestly, I think this is one of the most beautiful things that Ovid ever writes anywhere. She goes back to their bed. She touches the dip, the hollow that's been left behind in their bed by Theseus's body sleeping there. She says, the sheets are still warm from your limbs. She curses the bed for betraying her. If you are loved by Ariadne, you can guarantee you're going to get on her wrong side sooner or later. She says she's on a deserted island. There aren't any people. There aren't even any cows. I'm not sure if a cow would help her in her plight, but suffice it to say, if it would, it won't. There aren't any. She says, even if I found anyone, where would I go? She can't go home again, of course, because she has betrayed her father. She's helped a stranger kill her half-brother, kill the Minotaur. She says, Crete is dear to me by name, but betrayed by me, indeed. She can't possibly go back. You'd have died in the labyrinth, she says, if I hadn't given you that thread to help you find your way out again. And you said, so long as we're both alive, you're mine. Well, we're both alive, Theseus, and I'm not yours. I mean, if you can say that a woman's alive when she has been buried by a man's deceit. She just couldn't be crosser. She says, line 77, you should have killed me when you clubbed my brother to death. I mean, you know, they do have quite a complicated relationship, I think it's fair to say. Good news in the future, he's going to go on marry her younger sister. What could possibly go right? She says, I am less afraid of dying, line 82. I'm less afraid of dying than I am of waiting to die. I have a lot of sympathy for that. I think the anxiety is what's upsetting her most. And then she starts to panic about what might kill her. She says, what if I get eaten by wolves or lions or savage tigers? They say, I don't know who says, because as we've established there's no one here, but they say, people say that the sea throws up large seals. I not sure getting eaten by a seal is the most pressing of Ariadne's concerns, but she definitely thinks it's a risk, and so I guess that's what matters. If she's worried about it, it's worrying. She says there's no one to protect me from a sword. I could get enslaved. There are multiple threats to me, she says, from land and sea. The sky looks quiet, but I'm afraid of visions of the gods. Even the sky is frightening, poor Ariadne. She says she wishes that she'd never helped him, line 102. He didn't need her help anyway. She says the Minotaur's horn could never have pierced your iron heart. You're harder than rock, than granite, she says, so you were never in any danger even without a shield. She lists everything which has hurt her. She says cruel sleep, crudalis, cruel sleep has injured her because she slept through him leaving. The cruel winds which made the tears come from her eyes as she was looking out over the horizon to see his ship in the distance. Your cruel right hand, she says, which killed my brother, and it's killed me as well. She describes herself as a girl betrayed by 3 causes: the wind and the cruel right hand, and of course that cruel sleep, which allowed her to be abandoned before she knew it had happened. And then we come to what seems to me almost her real worry. I'm not sure how much she wants Theseus back, although she's asked him to come back. She says she's afraid she'll die alone. Her mother won't be there. There won't be anyone to close her eyes. There won't be anyone to bury her. She'll get eaten by birds. I mean, these are genuine fears that she has. The being eaten by a seal is maybe not so genuine, but being, your body being pecked apart by carrion birds, she's right to fear that. And anyway, even if there were men there, she says, I've learned to be afraid of the injuries that men I don't know will cause me. I bet she has, hey. But she's still angry. She says, when you get home and you're telling everyone how brave you are, line 129, don't forget to mention the bit where you abandoned me. Don't forget that. Don't miss me out of your list of achievements. She asks him to come back, but I don't think there's any real expectation that he will. She says he'll have to, come back and bury her bones because that's what will be left there. I guess I don't like leaving you with a sad ending, and this poem does have a sad ending, so it's worth going beyond the confines of the poem, I think, to remember what happens to them both. Ariadne will be found by the god Dionysus, and they will get married and have a lovely wedding, and she will be married to a god, which is clearly better than being married to Theseus, since he is a absolutely confirmed love rat. He, meanwhile, having forgotten Ariadne, at least that's how Catullus tells it in his poem that tells the story of this, he will also forget, when he nearly gets home, to change the sails on his ship. He promised his father before he left that he would come back with sails of one colour if he was safe and he'd survived, and otherwise the sails would be a different colour. He fails to change the sails to the hooray, I'm alive colour, and so his father, thinking his son dead, and frankly being a little bit premature on the whole waiting for actual confirmation front, leaps into the sea and dies. So that is what you get for being a love rat, Theseus. Next week we have got Kanake and her letter to her brother/lover. So trigger warning, if you don't like incest, and who does, next week is a bad week for you. If you do like incest, tremendous news. Next week is your absolute moment. I will see you next week for, we'll see how we get on with it, for poem number 11. Till then, bye for now.